What if I told you that hiring your friendly neighborhood handyman to fix just a tiny hole in your roof could actually cause your house to burn down?
I mean, it sounds crazy, right?
Yeah.
But it happened.
It really does. So, welcome to today's deep dive. We've got this really fascinating stack of sources to unpack today.
Oh, yeah. Tons of material.
Yeah, ranging from CDC hazard warnings and university agricultural extensions, all the way to the actual operational blueprints of a veteran-owned wildlife management company.
Right.
And our mission today is to explore the hidden, honestly wild ecosystem that is thriving right inside the walls of these master-planned human utopias.
It is such a remarkable collision of two worlds, you know? Like if you picture a place like the Woodlands, Texas.
Beautiful area.
Gorgeous. You have more than 28,000 acres of this thick East Texas pine forest in Montgomery County.
Right.
And right in the middle of it, we just dropped these beautiful homes dating back to the mid-1970s.
Just right in the trees.
Exactly. You have sprawling lawns, heavy tree canopies, feeder drains leading straight down to Spring Creek. And for a homeowner, I mean, it provides incredible curb appeal.
Oh, absolutely.
But for the local wildlife, it's basically an all-you-can-eat buffet paired with a luxury hotel.
Which creates this intense year-round friction because, it's like we built a VIP lounge for humans and nature just decided to crash the party.
Yeah, that's a perfect way to put it.
And when that overlap gets a little too close for comfort, you really need a vanguard. And that's where our primary source for today's operational protocols comes in. It's a company called the Critter Team.
Right, out in the Woodlands.
Yeah, founded in June 2015 by Mike Garrett, who is a retired U.S. military veteran. They handle nuisance wildlife. And to be clear for everyone listening, we aren't talking about, spraying for ants here.
No, not at all.
We are talking about raccoons literally tearing off your roof.
Yeah, the heavy-duty stuff. And what really stands out in their documentation is the strict, almost military precision of their approach.
Makes sense with his background.
Exactly. They're a fully licensed, insured, 24/7 emergency operation.
Yeah.
And, crucially, and this is a big deal, they do everything in-house.
No subcontractors.
Absolutely no subcontractors. Because when you are dealing with wild animals actively altering the structural integrity of your home, maintaining a strict chain of accountability is vital.
But you can't just have one guy set a trap and then some totally different, unaccountable contractor try to patch the hole a week later.
Right, it just doesn't work.
And as we will get into later, they are also entirely poison-free, which sounds counterintuitive until you hear the biology behind it. But I actually want to start our exploration from the very top of the house.
Okay, yeah, let's start at the roof.
So if you are sitting in your living room right now, right, in a house built in the 70s or 80s, just look up at your ceiling. Just a few inches above your head, the unique architecture of your roof might be actively inviting in an aerial assault.
Oh, the bats.
Specifically bats.
Right. So to understand the bat issue, we really have to look at the mechanical breakdown of aging construction. Think about the fascia boards. Those are those long, straight wooden planks running along the lower edge of your roof.
Right, right.
They are constantly exposed to intense Texas heat and moisture. So over the decades, they warp. They just pull away from the bricks slightly.
Just a little gap.
Just a tiny gap. And bats do not need a massive open door to get in. I mean, their bodies are incredibly compressible.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they just squeeze right behind that trim. And once a colony establishes itself, a single roost can number in the hundreds.
Hundreds of bats inside your attic. I mean, that's a horror movie.
It really is.
And the immediate sign of this, according to the sources we read, is the guano.
The droppings, yeah.
You might start seeing piles of droppings on your driveway or stuck to the exterior walls right below the roofline. But the real nightmare is what is happening inside that enclosed space of the attic.
Well, yeah, because the sheer volume of waste accumulates incredibly fast.
Yeah.
But the true danger is microscopic.
The spores.
Yeah. Exactly. Bat guano harbors histoplasma fungal spores. When those droppings dry out, and attic environments get very dry and hot up there.
Right, like an oven.
Right. Those spores basically turn to dust. So if you go up there to, say, grab your holiday decorations and you disturb that dust, it becomes airborne.
And you breathe it in.
You breathe it in, and the fungus essentially takes root in your lungs. It causes a severe respiratory infection that mimics pneumonia.
That is terrifying.
It is. And combine that with the fact that the CDC identifies rabies as a fatal viral disease commonly transmitted by bat scratches.
Right.
Then you realize the stakes are pretty high.
Okay, so clearly you need a professional for that. I mean, the sources mentioned that Mike Garrett personally holds an NWCOA bat standard certification.
Yeah, the National Wildlife Control Operators Association.
Right, exactly. And he's personally completed something like 60 to 80 bat exclusion projects. And the company handles 30 to 40 of these every single year.
They do a lot of them.
But look, I want to play devil's advocate here for a second.
Okay, go for it.
If the bats are flying out every single night to hunt for mosquitoes or whatever, why am I paying a professional? Why not just wait until midnight, climb up a ladder, nail a piece of plywood over the gap, and just be done with it?
That is the exact instinct most homeowners have.
Right. It seems logical.
It does, but it is a recipe for an absolute biological disaster.
Mm.
First off, from a legal standpoint, many bat species are federally protected. Trapping them inside your house to starve is highly illegal.
Okay, fair enough.
But practically speaking, they don't all fly out at once. The juveniles, the babies, they stay behind in the roost.
Oh, no.
Yes. If you nail a board over the hole, you trap the babies inside, they will panic. They try to find another way out, which often means migrating down through the hollow wall voids.
Oh, please tell me they don't.
And eventually they just drop right into your living room or kitchen.
Okay, yeah, that is 100 times worse. So if you can't board it up, how does the critter team actually get them out?
They rely on the mechanics of exclusion. Instead of sealing the hole immediately, they install these specialized one-way devices over the entry points.
Like a trapdoor.
Kind of. Think of it like a smooth plastic tube or a specialized netting valve. Gravity and the slick surface are the keys here.
Right.
The bat drops out of the tube to fly away at night. But when it tries to return, it simply cannot grip the smooth plastic to climb back up into the hole.
Oh, that's smart. It's just a mechanical lockout.
Exactly. And once the technicians confirm the entire colony has safely vacated over a set period of time, they remove the devices and permanently seal the gaps with animal-proof materials.
So you are securely evicting them rather than imprisoning them.
Right.
And this careful, legal framework doesn't just apply to bats, right? We have to talk about the other half of the aerial assault, birds.
Oh, yes.
Because anyone who has owned a home has probably seen a bird fluttering around a vent on the side of the house.
Totally. European starlings, house sparrows, pigeons, they are notorious for this in the woodlands. They specifically target dryer vents and bathroom exhaust vents.
Which seems harmless, but...
But it's really not. A bird nest inside a dryer vent isn't just an annoyance. The nesting material is highly flammable.
And it blocks the heat?
It completely blocks the airflow of the dryer, creating a massive hidden fire hazard right inside the ductwork. Furthermore, their waste is highly acidic. It actually corrodes the metal vents over time.
Wow. But again, my stubborn homeowner instinct says, just pull the nest out of the vent with a pair of kitchen tongs. Why is that a bad idea?
Because you might be committing a federal crime.
Really?
Yeah.
Just for moving a nest?
Yes. The U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service enforces the Migratory Bird Treaty Act. Disturbing an active nest of a protected native species, meaning a nest with eggs or flightless young inside, is a federal offense.
I had no idea.
A lot of people don't. That's why the critter team's first step is always strict species identification. Once they know exactly what they're dealing with and ensure they're in compliance with federal law, they utilize bird barrier certified installations.
What does that involve?
We're talking about specialized spiking, heavy-duty netting, custom vent covers specifically designed to exclude the birds permanently. And then they do a full sanitation of all that acidic waste left behind.
Incredible. So we have the roof peaks and the vents completely locked down. But if you look just a few feet lower at the tree branches literally resting on the shingles,
Right, the trees.
you realize the forest is providing a direct bridge to your eaves. We've got what I'm calling the canopy commuters.
I like that.
Yeah, the squirrels and raccoons.
The master plan design of the woodlands, they intentionally preserved all those mature pines and hardwoods. It's beautiful.
Just super scenic.
But it literally builds a highway right to your home. Squirrels just use those overhanging branches to drop right onto the soft roof connections, like the soffits or the wooden trim.
And squirrels are rodents, which means their front teeth never stop growing.
They have to chew.
They have to chew. I was reading the documentation from the Kansas State University Extension, and the hidden damage they cause is just staggering.
It really is.
They rip up your fiberglass insulation to build nests, but worse, they gnaw on the electrical wiring in your attic.
Yep.
They strip the plastic casing right off the wires, leaving raw, live electricity exposed against dry wood.
Which brings us right back back to your opening question about the handyman.
Oh, right. The fire hazard.
This is one of the most common and costly mistakes a homeowner makes.
Yeah.
They hear scratching, they find the chewed hole under the eaves, and they call a neighborhood handyman.
Right, and he just slaps a piece of standard wood over it.
Or cheap wire mesh, yeah.
So basically, you've just locked a tiny panicked demolition crew inside your walls overnight.
Precisely. A trapped squirrel will go into an absolute frenzy trying to escape. They do not just wait patiently.
I bet.
They will chew straight through your drywall. They will shred your HVAC ductwork. I mean, they cause exponentially more structural damage trying to break out than they ever did breaking in.
That is wild.
That's why the critter team ensures the animal is completely flushed out first. Then they proof those vulnerable areas using 23-gauge aluminum.
So why specifically 23 gauge? Like, what makes that the magic number?
It's the perfect intersection of malleability and toughness. It's thin enough that the technicians can fabricate and bend it right there on site.
Oh, so it fits exactly.
Exactly, to match the architectural contours of the roofline. But it's thick enough that a squirrel's incredibly sharp incisors just slide right off the metal. They can't get a grip to start gnawing.
And it doesn't look terrible.
No, they custom paint it to match the house, so the exclusion is basically invisible.
That's brilliant. Now, if squirrels are the demolition crew, raccoons are the heavy machinery. The sources say raccoons use the creek corridors that run all throughout the neighborhoods to travel. And a pregnant female looking for a safe, warm den in late winter. I mean, she is basically an unstoppable force.
A female raccoon is incredibly strong and highly motivated. If she decides your attic is the perfect nursery, she doesn't need a pre-existing hole.
She just makes one.
She will literally rip off a specialized ridge vent or pry apart weakened plywood at the soffit with her bare paws.
Whoa.
And the evidence she leaves behind is usually undeniable. You'll find muddy footprints climbing straight up your gutters.
Just right up the side of the house.
Right, and you will find droppings on your roof the size of what a small dog like a chihuahua would leap behind.
Chihuahua-sized droppings on the roof, that's not a subtle invasion.
No, you notice it.
And just like the bat guano, this waste is a massive biological hazard, right?
The profoundly serious one, yeah. The CDC issues strict warnings regarding Balis ascaris. Yeah, it's a type of roundworm found in raccoon feces. The eggs of this parasite are incredibly resilient. I mean, they can survive in your attic insulation for years. Years. If those eggs are inadvertently ingested, say, by a pet, or if the contaminated insulation is mishandled by someone working up there, it can cause severe neurological damage.
That's horrifying.
So when the critter team sets up their humane live traps, which they monitor daily, they aren't just relocating an animal. They're actively mitigating a severe public health hazard.
That makes total sense.
And if they capture a nursing female, they have very specific, careful protocols to ensure the mother and her young are kept together before relocation.
Which is good to hear, the humane aspect of it. But it's a complete domino effect, which is fascinating because when you have these larger canopy commuters, the raccoons and the squirrels, tearing these massive holes in your roof vents, the problem doesn't just stay in the attic.
No, it opens the door for everything else.
Right. Those widened gaps are basically rolling out the red carpet for a much smaller, far more insidious invader that drops right down into the hollow spaces between your drywall. We are moving from the attic into the walls themselves.
Roof rats.
Roof rats.
It just becomes a dark, hidden ecosystem entirely separated from the outside world. Proximity to Lake Woodlands and Spring Creek gives roof rats everything they need to thrive. Consistent food, water, ground cover.
And they can fit through anything.
Shockingly agile. They only need a gap the size of a dime to squeeze inside your house.
A dime.
Literally a dime. An AC line penetration where the caulking has dried out and crumbled, that's an open door for a rat.
And the way they behave inside the house is so different from the bats. Like, bats will hang in one spot and pile their waste underneath them, but the rats...
Rats are constantly on the move, which means they scatter their waste everywhere they travel. The EPA outlines severe property damage and health risks from rats because their droppings and urine carry pathogens.
And that contaminates surfaces.
Yes, and it can become airborne. Plus, they gnaw on wiring just like squirrels, but they also have this terrible habit of chewing through PVC plumbing pipes inside the walls.
Oh man, water damage.
Exactly, which leads to slow, hidden leaks and internal flooding.
Okay, look. I'm reading these EPA warnings, and if I have rats chewing through my plumbing and running around my pantry, I do not care about being humane anymore.
I get that.
My instinct is to go down to the hardware store, buy the biggest, strongest bucket of rat poison they sell, and just nuke the problem immediately. Tell me why I shouldn't just do that.
Because that quick fix will almost certainly end up being the most agonizing mistake you can make for your home.
Really? Why?
Think about it. When a rat ingests poison, it doesn't just instantly die in the middle of your kitchen floor where you can easily sweep it up.
True.
It starts to feel sick. And an animal's natural instinct when it feels vulnerable is to retreat to the deepest, darkest, most inaccessible place it knows to recover.
Oh.
That place is usually deep inside your wall voids, or buried under 3 feet of blown-in fiberglass insulation in the absolute furthest corner of your attic.
I see where this is going.
Yes, the rat dies inside the wall. So you have just traded a pest problem for a severe rotting odor problem.
And Texas heat.
Exactly. The smell of a decaying rodent permeates the drywall. It can make a room, or honestly an entire house, completely uninhabitable for weeks.
That's awful.
Often the only way to solve it is to literally cut exploratory holes in your walls to hunt for the carcass.
Just chopping up the drywall.
Right. And that is exactly why the critter team is strictly 100% poison-free.
So how do they get them out of the walls then?
They rely on a deep understanding of rodent behavioral psychology. Rats are creatures of habit. They run the exact same pathways along the wall studs every single night.
Oh, interesting.
So the technicians locate these travel paths by looking for grease marks and droppings, and they place snap traps precisely along those routes. It guarantees the rat is captured cleanly, killed instantly, and removed immediately.
Leaving no toxic residue or decaying surprises behind.
Exactly.
And you really, really want to get those rats removed instantly, because if you don't, you are essentially sending out a dinner invitation to our next guest.
Ah, the snakes.
Snakes. The Woodlands has thousands of acres of preserved forest, which means a very healthy, very active snake population. We're talking copperheads, western cottonmouths, massive rat snakes.
And here is the absolute golden rule of wildlife control that every homeowner needs to internalize. A snake inside your house usually means you have a rodent problem.
That makes total sense.
Snakes only care about 3 things: hibernating, mating, and eating. If it's not the season to sleep or mate, they're actively hunting.
So if you walk into your laundry room and find a copperhead coiled next to the washing machine.
It didn't just wander in there to say hello.
Right.
It is following a food source.
Yeah.
It is literally tracking the scent trail of the rat urine and droppings. Now, the critter team uses licensed wildlife management technicians who are specifically trained in venomous species handling.
Which is very important.
Absolutely, to safely capture and relocate the snake.
Mm-hmm.
But they will be the first to tell you, just removing the snake doesn't solve your problem.
Because the rats are still there.
If you don't exclude the rodents and sanitize that scent trail, another snake will simply follow that exact same invisible highway right into your laundry room next week. You have to break the food chain at its source.
It's all so interconnected. Okay, so we've covered the roof, the attic, and the walls. Now we have to take this all the way down to the soil surrounding the foundation. This is the final battlefront of wildlife management. And honestly, it features one of the most surprising culprits.
Armadillos.
Armadillos.
They are uniquely suited to cause absolute chaos in this specific environment. The Woodlands is built on very soft, sandy soils, and the residents maintain these beautiful, heavily irrigated lawns.
Which is perfect for them.
To an armadillo, an irrigated lawn is just a giant, easy-to-dig buffet, absolutely packed with grubs and insects.
They're basically nature's tiny, heavily armored excavators accidentally trying to sink your house.
That is exactly how they operate. They dig these cone-shaped holes, like 3 to 4 inches deep, and a single armadillo will tear up an entire landscaped yard in one night.
One night.
One night. And what's incredibly frustrating for homeowners is that armadillos are creatures of habit. They will return to the exact same feeding grounds repeatedly until they're physically trapped and relocated.
But again, my DIY instinct says just go to the store, buy a cage trap, throw some bait in it, and set it in the yard. Why does that fail?
Well, because armadillos don't really respond to bait the way a raccoon or a rat does. They hunt by rooting around for live grubs.
Oh, right.
What they do have, however, is terrible eyesight. They navigate mostly by bumping along physical barriers. So the trap placement and the specific angle of the trap are far more important than what's inside it.
Wait, explain that angle. How does that work?
So the critter team places the traps flush against the foundation wall, often at a 45-degree angle, or they utilize temporary fencing. Because the armadillo can't see well, it walks until it bumps into the foundation of your house.
And then it just follows it.
And it just follows the wall.
Yeah.
By placing the trap tight against the wall, you're essentially using the side of the house as a funnel. You just blindly follow the wall right into the cage.
That is so clever. And we should clarify for everyone, this isn't just about protecting your expensive flower beds. The Texas A&M AgriLife extension makes it clear that armadillo burrows aren't just cosmetic damage.
Not at all. The structural risk to the property is significant. When armadillos burrow along foundations or under concrete driveways or beneath those heavy air conditioning pads, they actively undermine the structural stability of the compacted soil.
So things start sinking.
Exactly. A deep burrow near a foundation footer can lead to the concrete settling and cracking over time. It creates drainage problems where water pools against the house. They're actively compromising the integrity of the home from the ground up.
And this ground-level battle extends to other nuisances, too. I mean, you've got skunks denning under raised wooden decks, and if you've ever smelled a skunk den under a house...
And you know it.
You know, it requires professional trapping and serious chemical odor treatment before you can even open your back windows again. You've got opossums taking up residence in crawl spaces. And of course, the ever grim reality of dead animal removal.
Yeah, that happens.
Locating and extracting whatever poor creature didn't make it out of a chimney or a wall void.
Which perfectly illustrates why effective wildlife control cannot just be a guy with a pickup truck and a rusty cage. It requires a comprehensive, holistic blueprint for coexistence.
And that brings us to how the Critter team pulls all of this biological and structural knowledge together, because they offer a full-service approach. It's not just catching the animal.
Right.
It's the critical attic decontamination to remove those dangerous fungal spores and roundworm eggs. It's tearing out the ruined feces-covered fiberglass insulation and replacing it. And it's that guaranteed warranty exclusion, making sure the VIP lounge is permanently closed to uninvited guests.
And running an operation that complex, with in-house technicians across all of Montgomery County, requires serious logistical coordination. That falls to Victoria Garrett. She's been the office manager there since January 2016. She's the one coordinating the emergency inspections, the live trap monitoring schedules, and the complex animal-proofing construction.
That's a huge job. And for anyone listening who is currently, say, staring at muddy paw prints on their gutter or hearing scratching in the ceiling right above their bed, you can reach them.
Good to have the info handy.
Yeah. They are located at 17627 Shadow Valley Drive, Spring, Texas, 77379. And their phone number is 281-800-4992. Again, you can reach them at 281-800-4992.
You know, if we look at the bigger picture here, it makes perfect sense why a veteran-owned company thrives in this specific master-planned environment.
Yeah, how so?
Handling this level of persistent wildlife pressure requires tactical 24/7 readiness. It requires strict adherence to protocols like being completely poison-free and utilizing humane, mechanically sound exclusion methods. It's about safely separating humans from nature without causing unnecessary harm to either.
Restoring order to that friction we discussed at the very beginning. So what does this all mean for you, the listener? As we bring this deep dive to a close, I think the biggest takeaway is recognizing the delicate balance required to live in a place like the Woodlands.
We share the space.
Right. When you build a community nestled inside 28,000 acres of preserved forest, wildlife management isn't about eradication. That's biologically impossible, and frankly, it just shouldn't be the goal.
No, not at all.
It's about smart, professional exclusion. It's about understanding the specific habits of everything from a federally protected sparrow nesting an event to a grub-hunting armadillo undermining a driveway.
We really have to acknowledge that we actively share this environment. I mean, the forest was there first. We just need to establish firm physical boundaries to protect our health and our structures.
And that leaves us with a final thought for you to mull over. We've spent this entire time talking about how animals exploit the tiny flaws in our aging homes.
The little gaps and warped boards.
Right. But as we look to the future, as we continue to design more energy-efficient, heavily sealed, fortress-like homes to keep the weather out, are we inadvertently putting evolutionary pressure on these animals?
Right.
By making our homes harder to breach, are we simultaneously breeding a new, hyper-resilient generation of wildlife that is perfectly adapted to outsmart our human architecture?
That is a wild thought.
Just something to think about the next time you hear a bump in the night.